Hello, artists. Today I want to talk to you about how we can use materials around our house and geometric and organic shapes to create a sculpture that will be 3D and can stand on its own. So this was a practice one that I did earlier today, and I created this one using cardboard. So first I'd like to talk about some materials that we can use that would be strong enough to help us to create a sculpture that would be able to stand on its own without us holding it. Um, and because it pops up, it will be a 3D piece of art and not a flat drawing like most of the art that we have been doing this year. So let's talk about some materials that we might have around the house that would be a good choice to create a 3D sculpture. We want to try to find a material that's a little bit stronger than paper. One example of those kinds of materials could be cardboard. This kind of cardboard came from a corrugated box. That means that it has like this inside filler. And so that came from this, which was a side of a box that I had gotten from Amazon. You know, the top part that closes the box? I just cut off one of those edges and used that. Another material that would be strong enough would be maybe an old tissue box or cereal box. And you could open that up and use the cardboard inside of that. That would be stronger than paper. You could also use an old folder. Maybe you have a folder that you used to keep work in and you're not using it anymore or could recycle it. That would be stronger than paper. That's not as strong as this cardboard, but it is stronger than paper and would be a better choice. And then you also have these, which are called index cards. A lot of times index cards has these lines on it, like little blue and maybe one pink line. And these are also stronger than paper. They're not as strong as the cardboard, but they are stronger than paper and would also be a pretty good choice for this project, okay? So I am going to show us how we can start this project using cardboard. And I'm going to use the cardboard that came from my Amazon box today. But there's also different kinds of cardboard, like the cardboard that came from the tissue box. And this one is actually a little bit easier to cut because it doesn't have that inside part. And so I did find that this cardboard was a little bit easier to cut, but I didn't have a lot of this cardboard. So that's why I'm going to use this as my example today. So once we've chosen our material, let's start by cutting out some shapes. So I found some things around my house that I could use to trace around to help me make some shapes for my project today. This was a lid from a baby food jar. And so I can put that on my cardboard and I'm gonna put it up in the corner because I wanna be able to fit as many shapes as I can. I've got a decent size cardboard, so I really wanna use my space wisely, right? So I'm gonna put it up in the corner and I'm gonna trace around that circle. And then this was the top of a Play-Doh container, which I'm also gonna put close to my circle here so that I have a lot more to work with. And now I'm gonna trace that circle. And then I had this, which is used to hold up photographs, but it's the shape, the sides of it are the shape of a square. So I'm gonna put that close to my circle as well, so that I can have lots and lots of space to cut out lots of shapes. So I'm not exactly sure which shapes I'm going to need yet. And I'm just tracing all of the sides and around all of the vertices or corners. I think I might want 2 squares, so I'm gonna put them, I might even have them touching each other. That might be easier when it's time to cut them out. Okay, I could use the corners of my cardboard. If I made a diagonal line, I could probably create the shape of a triangle. And if I need some help making a straight line, I could use something that I have in my house. Maybe something that has a straight edge. So I'm gonna put this box with a straight edge on the corner. And I can trace that. All right. And I still have all of this space in here too, which I would definitely fill with more shapes to cut out. I might even try an organic shape. So these are geometric shapes that we know the names of, right? Like triangle, square, rectangle, circle. But maybe I'd like to try an organic shape. And an organic shape is a shape that does not have a name. So like the shape of our hands, or the shape of a leaf, or the shape of a paint splatter, those would be organic shapes because they're still shapes. They're closed lines, right? But they just don't have a name to them. So that's why they're called organic shapes. I'm gonna put that organic shape on there too. And now I'm ready to start cutting. So this corrugated cardboard is a little bit more challenging to cut than the cardboard that does not have that filling on the inside, but it is still, you can still cut it, okay? Make sure that you are really turning the cardboard while you are cutting. Make sure that you're turning it a lot and cutting. And sometimes it's easier to cut out like the shape around it first, and then cut away pieces of it, especially when you have shapes that are round and have round sides to them. You might want to cut out a big piece first and then cut away. Because that big piece of cardboard, it just had all of that cardboard around it. So it was a little bit more challenging to cut. All right, so I'm gonna pause my video while I cut out a few more shapes. All right, now that I've cut out some more shapes to work with, now it's time to talk about how we're gonna get these pieces to stick together. So we're gonna get them to stick together by cutting out a slot or a slit. And that is going to be just a really super skinny, like pizza wedge cut. Look how skinny that is. It's tiny, right? And so that's called a slot. And a slot is I just cut maybe about halfway through my shape. And then I'm gonna cut super close to the one that I just cut. I'm gonna cut another little piece. And that's gonna leave me with just a really small pizza slice shape. All right, so you're gonna cut some slots into your different shapes that you have cut out. And you could put your slots on different sides. They don't always have to be right across from each other. You might have some that are next to each other. And that's gonna give you a lot of options when it's time for you to play around with your pieces and see how you would like to fit them together. So I'm gonna pause my video again while I continue cutting those slots out of these shapes. All right, so now that I've cut out all of these slots, I'm ready to start to try to put some pieces together. So I'm gonna choose a piece, and then I'm gonna work with putting some of my other pieces. You're gonna put one slot into another slot. So I'm taking the little pizza wedge cut from this side, and I'm going to place it in the other side, okay? And then I'm gonna put it down and see what happens, because the goal is for this to be able to stand up by itself when we're finished. And so far it's able to stand up. So then I'm gonna try some different pieces and see how I can work them in. Maybe I'm gonna put a square piece here. Not really crazy about the way that looks, but I'm gonna keep putting pieces together until I do. So after you've put one piece into a slot, you can also just kind of move those pieces around. Don't think I love that piece there either. I'm gonna keep putting, oh, I know, maybe try this organic shape. Cool. That made it nice and strong when I'm not holding it. And then, this organic shape does not have a slot, so I might need to gently pick it up and then cut another little slot into it. Then I'm gonna place it back on my surface. That's my table. I'm gonna add my next piece into the slot. And then I might try like placing it different ways on my table and seeing how I can get it to stand on its own without me holding it. And then I could try adding some different pieces. Maybe I'm gonna put this geometric shape here. So that's not staying good because I didn't have a slot there. I'm gonna go ahead and cut myself another slot. Put that on my surface. And of course, now I want to try my triangle instead. Okay, so you're gonna keep, and that's the fun part about it. It's kind of like now you get to play with all of these pieces until you get a piece that is 3D and can stand up on its own, and until you like the way that the shapes go together. And you might take it apart and put it together several different times before you are content with it. That means happy with it. So this one that I had made before making this video, I took it apart and put it together quite a few different ways before I was okay with the way that it looked. And then once you get a 3D sculpture that can stand up on its own, then you're going to keep it in a safe place because we're going to be adding some more details to it the next time that I see you in art. Okay. And don't forget, we talked about some different materials that you could use as well. If you didn't have this kind of cardboard at home, then you can use the kind of cardboard that could come from a tissue box. This was a Kleenex tissue, and I just cut it apart. I didn't use this one for my example because I had bent it up quite a bit. So that was just why I chose not to use this one. But this would be probably easier to cut as well than this kind of cardboard. But then this kind of cardboard is stronger. So you kind of have to make the decision that works best for you, okay? These were some pieces from a Kleenex box that I had cut earlier today. And I might put those slots together. Circle. It's kind of like a puzzle. Okay, so I'm super excited to see what you guys are going to create with your pieces and your slots, and happy creating. All right, artists, see you next time.